The abacus was invented in the Middle East around 500 BC, and it remained the fastest form of calculator until the middle of the 17th century. As towns emerged, we needed ways to count with larger numbers. In 1642, Blaise Pascal invented the first practical mechanical calculator called the Pascaline to help his tax collector father do his sums. The machine had a series of interlocking cogs that could add and subtract decimal numbers. But neither the abacus nor the mechanical calculators really qualified as computers. A calculator is a device that makes it quicker and easier for people to do sums, but it needs a human operator. A computer, on the other hand, is a machine that can operate automatically without any human help by following a series of stored instructions called a program. Calculators evolved into computers when people devised ways of making entirely automatic, programmable calculators. The first person to attempt this was a rather obsessive, notoriously grumpy English mathematician named Charles Babbage. Many regarded Babbage as the father of the computer because his machines had an input, a way of feeding in numbers, a memory, something to store these numbers while complex calculations were taking place, a processor, the number cruncher that carried out the calculations, and an output, a printing mechanism. These are the same basic components shared by all modern computers today. Babbage was a really interesting character. During his lifetime, Babbage never completed a single one of his hugely ambitious machines that he tried to build. It was no surprise. Each of his programmable engines was designed to use tens of thousands of precision-made gears. It was like a pocket watch scaled up to the size of a steam engine. For a time, the British government financed Babbage to the tune of £17,000. But when Babbage pressed the government for more money to build an even more advanced machine, they lost patience and they pulled out. Babbage was more fortunate in receiving help from Augusta Ada Byron. She was Countess of Lovelace and daughter of the poet Lord Byron. As an enthusiastic mathematician, she helped to refine Babbage's ideas for making his machine programmable, and this is why she still, sometimes today, is referred to the world's first computer programmer. Little of Babbage's work survived after his death, but when by chance his notebooks were rediscovered in the 1930s, computer scientists finally appreciated the brilliance of his ideas. Unfortunately, by then, most of these ideas had already been reinvented by others. By 1880, the US population had grown so large that it took more than 7 years to tabulate the US census results. The government needed a faster way to get this job done. They had hypothesised that the next census was going to take up to 11 years to count, and they were planning to do a census every 10 years, so this just wasn't sustainable. The American statistician Herman Hollerith built one of the world's first practical calculating machines, which he called the tabulator, to help compile census data. Hollerith's tabulator was an amazing success. He tallied the entire census as only 6 weeks and completed the full analysis in 2.5 years. Soon afterwards, Hollerith realised that his machine had other applications, so he set up the Tabulating Machine Company to manufacture it commercially. A few years later, it changed its name to the Computing, Tabulating, Recording, or CTR Company, and then, in 1924, it acquired its present name, International Business Machines. You might know them as IBM. The World War II years were a crucial part of the history of computing. This is when those big, powerful, gargantuan computers began to appear. A key figure in this was the genius Alan Turing. He was a brilliant Cambridge mathematician whose major contributions were to the theory of how computers processed information. In 1936, at the age of 23, Turing wrote a groundbreaking mathematical paper in which he described the theoretical computer known as the Turing machine. Turing's ideas were hugely influential in the years that followed, and many people regard him as the father of modern computing, the 20th century equivalent of Babbage. Although essentially a theoretician, Turing did get involved with real practical machinery, unlike many other mathematicians of his time. During World War II, he played a huge role in the development of code-breaking machinery that itself played a key part in Britain's wartime victory. Later, he played a lesser role in the creation of several large-scale experimental computers, including the ACE, Automatic Computing Engine, Colossus, and the Manchester Ferranti Mark I. Today, Alan Turing is best known for conceiving what's become known as the Turing Test, a simple way to find out whether a computer can be considered intelligent by seeing whether it can sustain a plausible conversation with a real human being. Just before the outbreak of the war in 1938, German engineer Konrad Zuse constructed his Z1, the world's first programmable binary computer. He constructed it in his parents' living room. The following year, American physicist John Antonov and his assistant electrical engineer Clifford Berry built a more elaborate binary machine that they named the Antonov-Berry computer, or ABC. These were the first machines that used electrical switches to store numbers. When a switch was off, it stored the number 0, flipped over to its other on position, and it stored the number 1. Hundreds or thousands of switches could thus store a great many binary digits. These machines were digital computers. Unlike analog machines, which stored numbers using the positions of wheels and rods, they stored numbers as digits. The first large-scale digital computer of this kind appeared in 1944 at the Harvard University. It was built by mathematician Howard Aiken. This was a giant of a machine stretching 15 metres in length. It was a huge mechanical calculator built into a wall. It would have sounded impressive. Impressive it may have been, it suffered from several problems. It was large, and it needed quite a hefty pulses of power to make the switch, and they were slow. It took time for a relay to flip from on to off, or from 0 to 1. Most of the machines developed around this time were intended for military purposes. Like Babbage's never-built mechanical engines, they were designed to calculate artillery firing tables and chew through other complex chores that, up until now, were the lot of the military mathematician. During World War II, the military co-opted thousands of the best scientific minds, recognising that science would win the war. For example, the Office of Scientific Research and Development employed 10,000 scientists from the United States alone. But things were very different in Germany. When Konrad Zuse offered to build his Z2 computer to help the army, they couldn't see the need and they turned him down. On the Allied side, great minds began to make great breakthroughs. In 1943, a team of mathematicians based at Bletchley Park near London, including Alan Turing, built a computer called the Colossus to help them crack secret German codes. The Colossus was the first fully electronic computer. Instead of relays, it used a better form of switch known as the vacuum tube, also known especially in Britain as a valve. The vacuum tube. Each tube was about as big as a person's thumb and it glowed red hot like a tiny electronic light bulb. It had been invented in 1906 for other reasons. In computers such as ABC and Colossus, vacuum tubes found an alternative use as a faster and more compact switch. Just like the codes it was trying to crack, Colossus was a top secret, and its existence wasn't confirmed until after the war ended. As far as most people were concerned, vacuum tubes were pioneered by a more visible computer that appeared in 1946, the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Calculator, or Eniac. The Eniac contained nearly 18,000 vacuum tubes, 9 times more than the Colossus. It was around 24 metres long and weighed nearly 30 tonnes. Eniac is generally recognised as the world's first fully electronic, general-purpose digital computer. Colossus might have qualified for this title too, but it was designed purely for one job: code breaking. Since it couldn't store a program, it couldn't easily be reprogrammed to do other things. Colossus, the Eniac, and the Harvard Mark I compete for significance and recognition in the minds of computer historians. Which one was truly the great modern computer? All of them and none. These and several other important machines. They all evolved our idea of the modern electronic computer during this key period between the late 30s and the early 50s.